You're listening to Homeschool Unrefined. I'm Maren.
And I'm Angela. Let's encourage each other, laugh, and get real about homeschool.
Welcome to the podcast where we keep homeschool simple, real, and fun. You've got episode 76, Where We Play, with Christy Thomas.
Hello, friends. We are so glad you're here. We just feel honored that you listen to us every week and you let us come into your home and your ears, and we just feel so humbled. So thank you for listening, and thank you for reaching out to us. We'd love to hear from you, and we've heard from so many of you so far, so we'd love to hear from more of you. Come out of the woodwork. Yeah. And a special hello to our Patreon subscribers. Thank you for supporting us. And if you are interested in being a Patreon subscriber, you can go to patreon.com/homeschoolunrefined.
Yes. So, Angela, how was your weekend?
It was great.
We're recording the day after Memorial Day. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
So I had a good weekend. Jeremy took the kids up north and left me home alone, which was so amazing.
Sounds amazing.
I have been in like dire need of time alone.
Yeah.
I just think it was a long winter for me. It's a long winter.
Yeah.
And I find little pockets of time alone, but I haven't had like this break that I needed. I've never had a break like this, but I needed this. This is a need. So
Good.
I think he recognized that. We were all going to go up north, and then he got this idea because we were talking to some friends whose the husband left the wife home alone for Mother's Day, and he took the kids somewhere.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, I think that's what you need."
That was very perceptive of him. But
I was like, "Yes, I do.
Wow.
Need that."
Way to go.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
Yeah, it was hard for me at first because I do not like missing out. And it was a really hot weather. We're going to be at a lake and, doing fun water stuff. And I just don't want to miss that with my kids. I don't want to miss those fun times.
I know.
But
it's better for them to get you at your best.
Oh, yeah.
So to have time alone, it helps you be the best mom you can be, right?
I
so
know.
You're going to be better from here on out because of this weekend.
I know.
So way to go.
Yeah, so I had to remind myself of that. The first day was like three full days. 3 full days and 2 nights. It was amazing. The first day I was lonely. I was like, what have I done?
Oh.
And I wanted to drive up there and meet them. But then shortly after, I kind of found my groove and I was like, oh no. This is good. This is good. This is amazing. This is so nice. I think it's just hard at first because your house is like so quiet. I mean, they took the dog and everything. I mean, there's like no noise.
You're right. Do you turn on music or something?
I did sometimes, yeah. Or I listen to podcasts. So,
Yeah.
a lot of that.
Well, I think I think on vacations, a lot of times the first day is, even when you're with your family or whatever, you just still thinking about all your responsibilities.
Yep.
And it's hard to adjust to time off.
Yep. Yeah.
So you listen to podcasts.
I listened to a lot of podcasts. I read some books. It was really hot, so I went for a walk early in the morning every day. But then after that, I stayed inside most of the day. I mean, I went outside a little bit, but it was a scorcher.
Yeah. I mean, not even just Minnesota standards. It was hot. It was like 95, 100.
Yeah.
Right?
And humid.
Almost 100. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So, I met some friends one day. And then I didn't tell myself that I was going to do any projects ahead of time because I didn't want to have any expectations of things that I would accomplish.
Right.
But,
or feel like you had to be done with something
right.
by the end of the day.
But if I felt the urge to do something, I did. So I did a few projects, which actually felt great.
So great.
Yeah. It was
good.
It was amazing.
So then that was just like a bonus.
Yeah. Then I was like, look at what I got done.
Oh, wow.
I did some projects.
So good.
I cleaned out our homeschool cabinet area.
Because you just wanted to do that.
Because I
so
was
way
just
to
like,
go.
why not? While I'm listening to
Why
this
not?
podcast.
Yeah.
It was like, well, what am I
No
going to do while I'm
expectations.
listening to this podcast? Well, might as well clean this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best way to work.
I know.
That's so great.
Yeah, it was awesome. So
I'm so happy for you.
thank you.
I really am.
Thank you. And what did you do?
Well, we went up north also.
Yep.
Because that's what people in Minnesota do.
They go up north.
They go up north. And actually, the kids and I went up Friday morning because we just didn't want to be in traffic.
Yeah.
Because that's, traffic for like the whole rest of the day was going to be traffic.
Yeah.
So, and also my husband he didn't want to be rushed. He worked pretty much the whole day and evening.
Yeah.
So he got a little extra time, and we got extra time up north at my parents' cabin.
Yeah.
So that was awesome, and it was great. Ugh, it was wonderful. I mean, it was about 10 degrees cooler up there, which
was it?
nice.
Oh, I didn't know
yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah. So it was still hot, really.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, it was still hot.
Yeah.
But we had our dog this time too, it made the whole experience like so different. I mean, it was like bringing another, family member up or whatever.
Yeah.
Kind of for our kids anyway, especially. And that was so fun for them. It was just fun to watch them have a dog up north.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch them. So, yeah. We just spent a lot of time by the lake, and we canoed and kayaked. My parents live right next to it's on a lake, but the Mississippi River goes right through the lake.
Okay.
So we just, walk maybe a quarter mile to the Mississippi River.
Oh.
And that was fun.
Yep.
That's always fun. And my mom is a former Minnesota like geography and history teacher.
Yep.
So she's just like an abundance of information.
Yeah.
And just loves to, and she's so excited about it.
Right. I think I saw you Instagram story about that.
Yeah. So I just let her go at it.
Yeah.
For a while. Tell everybody about all this information.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was fun.
Good.
I did feel like, though, I don't know if anybody else could relate to this, but I felt like the full last day that we were up there, I was so irritated with everybody. And I don't know why. I was like, why? What is happening? And then the next day I got my period. And I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. Now I get it. I had to tell my husband, even. I was like, I think I know I was so crappy yesterday. That doesn't happen to me every time. Like, I do not always get that way.
Yeah.
Before my period, but I did this time.
You get crappy.
It was like a strong correlation.
That's interesting. I get real emotional. I will cry about things sometimes. But then when I find out I get my period, then I'm like, oh. And then I don't want to tell anybody because
you don't want to blame it on that.
No.
And that's not like the only reason why those things happen. It's not like, I mean, there are other factors. Yeah. It's just, reacting to them is different.
Right.
But anyway, it was fun though. Besides that.
Yeah. Okay.
That little hiccup.
And then, so you drove with your kids by yourself?
I drove with my kids up there by myself.
Yep.
Yeah. And then on the way home, my husband took our youngest with him to have some special time.
Yeah.
Which was more it was more of an excuse, like for the older kids were like, we need time away from our youngest our youngest sibling. So it was good for everybody. Yeah. She felt super special, and then the older kids like got to actually relax in the car.
Yeah. Nice.
With me. So it was great.
Nice.
All right. We are so excited to have our friend Christy Thomas on the show today. She started Play for Life Moms with the number 4.
Yep.
playforlifemoms.com. And she is just a huge proponent and encourager of play. And I think it's so good for us to remember to do that every day. And I loved this conversation because it really helped me see that play isn't just one type of play. And we can all do it in the way we enjoy most. And our kids really need that from us.
Right.
And it was great to hear that message. So enjoy our conversation.
Welcome to Homeschool Unrefined. We're so glad you're here.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah.
It's so much fun to listen to you guys.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you.
We are so excited to have you.
Could you just start by telling our listeners a little bit more about yourself and your family?
Sure. I'm Christy. I'm married to my college sweetheart. We've been married 14 years. I met him when I was 17.
Wow.
I have 3 kids, 11, 10, and 5. We're a military family, and we've homeschooled forever. And we just like hanging out together as a bunch of introverts too.
Oh, are you all introverts?
Pretty much. I think there's the middle kid that's a little bit more extroverted, but I'm realizing as she's growing up that she's not totally extroverted.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It sometimes takes a while to figure out your kids, or for me.
That's what I have found too. I've been changing my ideas of what my kids are, but you know, there's some things that are always, you know, from the same from the time they were born.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
But then there are some things that just change. They grow and change, and who knows?
It's exciting to watch them, isn't it? To get this up close view.
Yes. Totally. So, and Christy, do you have any hobbies that I know you do.
Okay.
I'm asking for everyone else. Tell us all about your hobbies.
I love to run. I run at least a mile every day. I really like reading.
So amazing.
And I really build in a lot of time for creative practices and self-care as key anchors in my day.
Yeah, that's awesome. So great.
Yeah.
You are a person I love to follow you on social media because it is just a quick little reminder every day to take care of myself because you do such a good job of that.
I'm glad that that you said that because that's my goal. There's so much of this military family life, you know, I've been parenting solo about, 50% of the time. So I'm always writing those as like reminders to myself. And so to have it inspire other people has been really cool too.
Yeah, that's great.
That's so great. So I know you just said you are an introvert, but could you tell us also, do you know any of your other personality types?
Okay, so I know like the Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram. I'm an INFP, so like that artist dreamer sort of thing. And then Enneagram 9, total peacemaker.
I can see that.
I can definitely see it too. I think one of my kids might be an INFP. I feel like I really like INFPs.
Yeah.
Because they're peaceful. Like you said, imaginative, creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it for a long time. I wanted to be an engineer growing up, and I did not want to be an INFP. Like I grew up in like the 90s girl technology push, and I went to school for engineering for a while, and I totally fought hard.
So did you work after college, or did you go right into the military with your husband? How did that happen?
Okay, so so I've never been in the military, just my husband has.
Right.
We met when we were in college. He was in ROTC, so he had already committed.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And I started off as an engineering undergrad, and then I switched to education. And I taught 6th grade and 3rd grade and 5th grade.
Okay.
Before giving birth.
So, we're both teachers too, so that's where good connection. Very cool. I can see the teacher in you too, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely for homeschooling. I'm not always sure if it's a burden or a gift.
I think about that every day. Yeah. I think that both. Too. Yeah, it is both. It is both. There are some times when I think, oh, I'm really glad I have had a little training in this or whatever. But most of the time I think, wow, my expectations are just off the wall. I need to I need to adjust.
Yeah, I mean, it gets other people off my back, right? When I say I'm a homeschooler and I have this education degree, like it stonewalls the conversation. But besides that, I was like, I'm not really sure what I draw on regularly for those years of time spent in my own classrooms.
Right. So how did you start homeschooling, and how long have you been doing it?
So we started from the start. It was a pretty big conversation early on when my girls were both newborns and toddlers, knowing that if my husband was going to stay in this Navy military career, that I didn't want them switching schools, that I never switched schools as a kid growing up. But in those years that I taught as a teacher, I never taught in the school twice.
Oh
my goodness.
Wow.
So every year I was the new teacher, and I saw what 6th grade looked like in different states. And I was like, there's going to be holes in my kids' education.
Right. So true. And I mean, I can just imagine the social aspect too of switching schools every year, how hard that would be.
I think that would be really hard. And I really think that I don't want to. The public school is its own public entity, right? Like it's its own government controlled thing. And that's great in that it offers a lot of stuff to people. But my family didn't need another government body dictating our schedule.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Your life was already dictated by the military, right? I mean, where you were going to live. And that makes sense.
I know a lot of my friends do put their kids in public school that are military, and that's great. But I didn't want to jump through hoops about truancy when my husband was home, or when to move just based on someone else's set up school schedule.
Right.
Yeah, that's so great. So you decided right away, before your kids even were in school, you decided we're going to homeschool.
Yeah. We got lucky because my husband's best friend growing up was homeschooled. So it wasn't that far of a stretch for him, because he had already seen this really cool kid that he built flamethrowers with and did magic shows with.
Yeah.
He had this great example of what homeschool could be already.
Yeah. So I am imagining homeschool can look different to you than to maybe somebody who's staying in the same home for several years. And you also have multiple aged kids. So do you ever get overwhelmed by all of this? And what are your strategies that you use to make it work?
Yeah, I think that if a homeschool mom tells you she's not overwhelmed, she's probably hiding in her closet most of the day, eating chocolate. Right? Like, that's just the beast, is that there's only one of me and more of them. And I take a lot of deep breaths during the day and breathe. And I set up a lot of invitations for my kids, where when I'm trying to work one-on-one with one kid, I've already pre-thought, like, I know my youngest, my 5-year-old, is going to want to interrupt me. So let me set up something fun for him that he doesn't normally see often, like a kind of rotating feast for him.
Yeah. That is so great.
So Christy, when you say that, my mind, I just think, wow, that seems like a lot of work and energy to think of a fun, cool, new, interesting activity for your 5-year-old to do while you're working with your other kids. And I'm imagining myself doing that, and I'm thinking, I might be really good at that for like one day or two. And then I might be just out of ideas.
And you're like, that's my best stuff right there.
That's all. That's my best stuff. So how are you doing this? Are you planning ahead? Or do you just naturally think of things?
I'm a go with the flow sort of person.
Okay.
So really what I'm doing is I'm standing in the with my coffee in the morning saying, okay, have we played with the awful Play-Doh recently? Or have we played with colanders and pipe cleaners? Like, I'm just rolling through my head of things that I've seen and looking at like my cabinet of things that I really don't want him touching by himself. and saying, what can I bring out?
I think this is so great. I love to hear that perspective, Christy. And that's just because I think I love hearing your personality type, INFP. I'm an ENFP, and I feel so similar. That's how I function best. And I think it's so easy for us as parents to think, well, for me, this is how I think. I think, well, most people I know don't do it that way. Or I just think I shouldn't be doing this. I need to be more planned. But I actually do better when I'm thinking with my coffee in the morning, what are we going to do? That's my best time to think about it.
I am much better off the cuff thinking of these ideas, thinking of like what he's really into. Like if he's into dinosaurs right now, well, I can just leave him stamps and dinosaurs and he'll be happy and he'll put footprints all over a piece of paper.
Right. Sure.
Yeah, that's so that great. Doesn't, if I plan it out, then I'm going to loop into this failure.
Right. Yeah. That is how or even if I'm thinking ahead of time, if I'm planning it out, my mind is blank, completely blank. Like I can't think of anything. But if I have to think about it 10 minutes ahead of time, I've got 20 ideas. So
yeah. See? Yeah. So it's really, you've got to know your own self. That's like the biggest part of homeschooling, right? Is so not fighting yourself.
Yeah.
That is so true. And I think it's a daily decision to not fight yourself on those things every day.
I think it can come down to like an every 5-minute thing, right?
Yeah, right.
On everyone's personalities for that day and how much sleep you got. And
right.
Like right now, what's going to be the best choice? Is it sitting down and watching a documentary for a little bit longer, or is it getting everyone outside or something messy? Like, do we all need a snack? Like, as Julie Bogart says, have I had a turkey sandwich recently? Like,
yeah.
Where am I? What does everyone?
Right. Yep. That's great.
That is so good. I love that.
So, Christy, you started something called Play for Life Moms, and we would love to hear more about that. How did you start it? What's your vision for it? And what is it?
Okay, so Play for Life Moms is a online community that's growing of moms that just want to savor childhood and elevate the importance of play for their kids. Yeah. So childhood, when you do the math, I'm a former math teacher, is only 940 weeks long.
Wow.
That's not very long.
No.
Yeah. Right? So when you put it in weeks like that, like we look at infants and pregnancy in terms of weeks, but once they get to a certain age, we drop that. But in our brains, 940 doesn't seem that long.
Right.
It really helps me focus and narrow down. So Play for Life Moms is all about keeping you engaged in motherhood in a playful way. Because some days motherhood seems like it's going to be 100 years.
Yeah.
But it's not. Mm-hmm. And so Julie Bogart did this talk, one of her famous Periscope talks about play and how important it is. And somebody in the comments had said, I just need someone to remind me to play. And I had already been using my smartphone to set 100 alarms. So like, remember, mistakes are just your brain's way of learning. And
that's so
go
great.
Hug each kid 3 times before 5 p.m. sort of thing. So Play for Life Moms is just a natural offshoot of turning those alarms into text messages that I could share with other people.
Yeah.
That's so good because it is very easy to get wrapped up in all the must-dos, all the have-tos of the day, because there are so many things to do all day long.
Yeah, and that's without adding the shoulds, right, that you put on yourself. Right. You're not living up to something else.
Right. And all the things that you've just placed on yourself, too, that, you know. And so, so good to have reminders to be present with your kids. Yeah. The time is now.
Yeah. And to be present with yourself, right? Yeah, we don't want to slog through motherhood and get to when our kids are 21 or 18 and realize, wow, like I forgot who I was in all of it.
Yeah.
I know. I always think not always, but I often think about when my kids are older, am I going to be like happy with myself just being here by myself? Because, you know, I need to be happy with myself once they're out of the house.
Right.
Too, right? I need to have a complete life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without them, right? Eventually. So, yeah, like I need to prepare myself for that now.
Mm-hmm. So Play for Life Moms, that's another big part of it for me. Like I said, this parenting gig, I'm 50% with a partner. And
yeah,
I really needed to make sure that I was remembering to take care of me.
Yeah.
So those alarms weren't just for hugging my kids and giving myself permission to make mistakes. They were, you know, don't forget, you should try to have 3 vegetables or something like that.
Yeah, that's so good.
Because it's easy to get lost and to forget how to mother yourself.
I think that's so good too, because I think a lot of us, including me, I think I can't take care of myself at this moment. Like there's two, you know, or I think there's just a lot of ways we can give reasons for not taking care of ourselves. There's a lot of good reasons for not taking care of ourselves. But I mean, those things you can do that. You know, you can have veggies.
And I think there's this myth of self-care being a solo act. Where that, especially as a homeschool mom, these beautiful kids are around you 24/7 mostly. And so depending on their ages and stages, your self-care might look like you doing it parallel to them with other chaos going around. Like that still is a valid self-care act, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a lot of confusion about that.
Right. And so it's not like we don't need to like hire a babysitter, have them come over. You go, you know, away for 2 hours or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, that can count. Right. But
they don't have to be that elaborate.
Right. So good.
It can be pausing to do Sudoku, right?
Yeah.
Like just naming it and saying this is self-care and claiming that as like something you're doing to try to make you a better mom later or a better person later in the day is really important. Learning how to play yourself.
Right. Okay, so back to playing with our kids. What do you think, I mean, what do you think are some of the biggest roadblocks for parents for playing with their kids? Because I think for all of us, for many of us, it is hard. It's hard to play. So why do you think that is?
Well, first of all, like when you play with your kids, there's not something productive out of it right away. And I think that when we look at playing with our kids, we're often thinking of the laundry or something else we needed to do that we can complete. There's like a end goal. But when we pause and play with our kids, like that end goal might be that my one kid had a tantrum because she lost at a game. That play is hard and we're going to be bad at it and it's not going to look like productive time.
Yeah, right. You can't put anything up on the wall afterwards and say, I gotta, you know, you don't get a certificate for it or something. And
there's not like, you know, it's a long-term nurturing of seeds. Whenever you pause and play, you're investing in that relationship because relationships need connection and quality time, not just quantity of time, but quality. So when you pause and play, you're doing a long-term investment versus a short-term folding the laundry or emptying the dishwasher.
Right. That's so
I was just thinking for someone like me, it might be good to put that on your list for the day. I don't know if you guys probably don't have lists, but
I do have a list, but it doesn't have any time associated with it. Like my list could be used on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. So I thought if I, in addition to having things like finish the laundry or work on math books or whatever, if I had play, then I would feel like, oh, yep, I'm getting to do that thing and cross it off.
Yeah.
Which is valuable to me.
That helps and I have a kid that's a little bit more type A like that.
Yeah.
And so we have a dry erase board and every day I'm like, let's play a game, or I write play something, play with mom on it.
Yeah.
Because I want them to know that just because I'm home with them, I don't think they realize all the time that my investment in homeschool and being a stay-at-home mom with them is an investment in them. That they don't necessarily realize that they are my priority. That it's not all these other things that I have to do to keep our house running, or the paperwork for the state for education or whatever.
Right. Yes.
Right? Like, my kids are my reason for staying home and with them. They are the priority. And by putting it on the to-do list for a couple of my kids, it makes that really clear. Like, mom wants to spend time with us.
Right.
Oh, I love that
That's
so much.
good.
And we've talked a lot on the podcast about just productivity time as far as working on academics, and those academics it is so much more effective when you have made a connection with your kids before that.
Right.
I mean, and we have the freedom to do that. We get to make connections before we start doing all the work.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you'll find those viral Facebook videos, right? Of when like a public school teacher does something that's very home-like, like high-fiving a kid every day, or some sort of chant and giggles and laughter before. And those videos always go viral. And it's because that teacher is making the time to make those kids feel seen and secure and safe, which is really what connection is.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Ugh, that is so good. So good.
So, Christy, I'm just going to voice what I think maybe a lot of homeschool parents might be thinking, because I think the same thing myself, and that is, I'm just not that good at play. I'm just not that like imaginative. I never was. I can read a book and connect. I can play maybe a board game, but like getting on the ground and playing some, I don't even know what it would, I can't even imagine what it would be that you would be doing with like dolls or trucks or something, or that's just not my thing. Or like getting messy, it's really uncomfortable for me. So what kinds of advice would you have for somebody like me?
I think that you need to read the book Play by Stuart Brown. That you're trapped in this one type of play. There's actually 7 different types of play.
Okay.
There's attunement play, which is that first smile of a newborn baby. There's body and movement play, right? We see that all the time. There's object play, which is like little cars or sticks, when animals play with sticks at the zoo. There's social play, which is like this group gathering conversation. This is play.
Yeah.
There's pretend play, which is what most adults are scared of because it's hard and uncomfortable, and we've outgrown it in a lot of ways developmentally.
Yeah.
There's storytelling and narrative play. We would have no comedians, no good movies, no good books if there wasn't someone playing with story.
Right.
And then there's just creative play, which is the 7th play, and it's the one where I really want to say it's like the Einstein level of play, where you just let your brain wander and make connections with the world and give yourself the space to daydream.
Yeah. That's so good.
But play isn't just that, which is like the big thing, right? We always think of the preschooler on the floor talking to the My Little Ponies or whatever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have to be the only way you play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add to, I have found my husband especially he is really good at incorporating his own interests into the play. So like, because he can't always get on that, the same level as some of my kids, where they are, imaginatively, but he can pull out a chessboard and would love to talk chess strategy with the kids. Or, he loves to, I don't know, watch car videos.
Totally.
And they'll watch car videos and then they'll talk about all the different kinds of cars. And, it's not like, that might not look like play, but it is really connecting.
It totally is play. I grew up around the Motor City. Car videos are like cars and classic cars and renovations. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Right.
And for my husband, it's a lot of music and music play and watching YouTube music videos and then trying to come up with, well, how did they do that special effect? Can we record a video that looks like that?
Yeah.
And taking the time to break that down with our kids, that's totally play.
Yeah. And, just like we were talking earlier about how, I plan 10 minutes ahead of time. You like to do that. I mean, and we just have to embrace that. That's who we are. And I think we have to do that with play too, because you, Angela, have so many gifts, and Jeremy does too. And I mean, you are going to be, I think, formed by those. Your kids are going to be formed by those gifts too. It's not. You're probably not gonna, be. I don't know. Like I think about for my family, like I always wanted my husband to be the dad who'd like play ball in the backyard, but he's just not really that guy. And it's okay. Yep. Like he has other interests, and the kids are totally happy with his interests too.
Right.
And so, anyway,
it totally counts, though. Yeah, and like one of my best friends is a very type A accountant, and she's like, I don't know how to play, and I'm like, but you do. You make these really cool trees every holiday season, like a Halloween tree and a Valentine's tree. And she plans the $5 movies all the time. Like they're always going to these cool. Right. I'm like, I think 10 minutes ahead of time. If I want to go to a $5 movie, it's probably sold out on Tuesday around my house. But that all counts.
Yeah,
we all
that
have
is
our
so
own
true.
talents.
Yep. And sometimes we just have to we have to define play for ourselves, I think, sometimes. Because it looks different for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Christy, what's one thing we can do today to change how we are spending time with our family?
Okay. So one of the ways, like I shared earlier, was writing it on a very visible to-do list so that my kids can hold me accountable for it. That's good. Making it like a dentist appointment style accountability with them and telling them about it. Like, I really want to play Uno 4 times today and have it. And then also, I leave out triggers. So this might look different for different families. Like, we have a stack of instruments in one corner so that we're all triggered to pick those up and play with them during the day. Or I set out watercolors at the table to make sure that, somebody uses them. So use your environment to show your priorities and set triggers for you to spend time with your family in a playful fashion.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That's so great.
So when I'm talking about this, here's what I don't want people to do, though. Like, I don't want you to say, like, oh, man, I wish I could be like Christy. Mm-hmm. I'm not skilled at this. So I'm not telling you these ideas or sharing what I do to lay on any guilt. Mm-hmm. I want you to figure out that your family already has its unique flavor of play that's happening. You just have to stop and notice it. Right. And then see how you can add a little bit more so that at the end of the day, when you go to sleep, you're like, that was a good day. I'm the happiest mom that I know.
Mm-hmm. That is so good. You're echoing kind of what we talk about a lot in our podcast, how you need to really be yourself and claim that and try not to be your neighbor or your friend who homeschools or whatever, because you have your own gifts and your kids need those. They need you to shine using your own gifts.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's not going to probably look like everybody else, and it's not going to be everything. You can't.
Yeah, you're not going to be everything.
Can't do everything.
You can't do it all ever.
Yeah. Exactly. So be the best you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just notice what's going well already. You're already playing.
Yeah.
Your kids are already playing. Even if that means stopping and watching some YouTubers playing video games from England.
Yes,
and
I know what you're talking about.
Or following them on YouTube or on Instagram so you can like lead conversations with your kids, right? Like being engaged with them in a way that you would be engaged with your good friends is also play.
That is so good. And so I think that's where it's so important to figure out what your kids are super interested in, because it's much easier to spend time doing something with them when it's right up their alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much easier.
You don't want to coerce them into play.
Right.
Like, you don't want to.
We are playing baseball. No.
Right. Your family already is playing in some ways. Your kids are playing because they're kids, and that's the job of childhood, right? Like,
exactly.
Especially if you're a homeschooler, your kids have more free time. What do they do when you walk out of the room? Notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also, and so looking at the interest of the kids, but then also I think it's so important that we understand, like you said, we understand what we're interested in and we love to do. For example, I love being outside in nature, and it's really important to me that we're all outside a lot. Now, my kids complain about that sometimes, but it's what I love to do. And I feel like they are going to benefit from that because they see how much I love it. And so I don't fight that all the time. Sometimes I let it go, but a lot of the times it's what I love to do. So
yeah, totally. I made it a goal.
They kind of start liking it too then.
They do. I made it a goal to go like geocaching or letterboxing every Wednesday because I really like it. Like I had a handheld GPS machine so I could geocache in the early 2000s. Now my kids don't like it that much. They're not fascinated by this whole treasure hunt thing. But it brings me one of my best selves, right? Like it helps me show up in a way that's happier. So play in terms of self-care is really important.
Right.
So you talk a lot about you talk a lot, I know, on social media about taking care of yourself. We've talked a little bit about it here, how you take care of yourself. And I know you run every day, at least a mile, you said.
Yeah.
But I know sometimes it's a lot more than a mile.
It is sometimes. I've trained for some races, so.
Oh, that's awesome. So how did you decide to make that commitment? And how do you make it happen every day?
Okay,
sounds magical. That sounds amazing.
Well, it's within 24 hours, right? So I have all 24 hours to fit it in. Sometimes it's at 11:50 p.m. I start that mile. I realize, oh man, I took a nap. I should have ran first. But so it started because my husband and I were living in separate places, and he had saw someone with a shirt on that said running streak, and he had asked the person about it, and we decided this was something we could do to bond together while he was in Virginia and I was living with my parents in the middle of moving.
Okay. Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So I had childcare, right? I was living with my parents, so it made it really easy to start. That I could go out for 10, 12, 13 minutes, depending on how I was showing up that day for my mile, and just do it. And it was a way that my husband and I could talk and connect. And then I got to a year point last July, and I kept going. So it will be 2 years on July 1st.
Wow. That's amazing.
That is amazing. It really is. Did you think you were going to make it this far when you started?
No. In fact, I hadn't ran consistently at all at that point. Like I had a pretty rough 2015 with some medical stuff. And so the jump in, I didn't know if I could even get to a year. Like I thought I could. It's only 1 mile. Like, I can go, and I'm really lenient on my pace. Like it doesn't matter, right? Because I'm going to show up again the next day.
Yeah,
which has been really important.
Really good
mindset for homeschooling, by the way.
Yeah.
Like know that, I'm going to show up tomorrow, so I can be okay with a really bad day today.
That is so good.
But I've ran around soccer fields. I've ran around playgrounds. I've ran up and down my stairs. I've ran my block from my driveway to the stop sign by my house. If I run it 16 times, it's a mile.
Wow.
You get creative. So
do you have one of those, like a smartwatch that tells you how many steps you've taken in a day?
I have a smartwatch, yeah, but for my running, I use my iPhone and an app called Strava.
Okay.
And it's a GPS app. And then what I like about it a lot is that my kids have access to iPods or family iPad, and I can even send them an alert and they can track me where I am. Like it does a geolocating sort of thing. I can send them a text message. So when I'm training for really long runs, you know, for me as a women runner, it makes me feel a little bit safer that there's this cookie breadcrumb trail that I'm eating behind me.
Yeah, that is so good. But I mean, I was asking about your steps because I'm sure you never have to try and get to 10,000 steps a day. Never.
No, that's not true. I totally have to work at it. 1 mile is only like 2,000 steps about. So you sit down with a good book, then you're totally lost hours on steps. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Christy, so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We loved hearing from you. And we, as we approach summer, we were hoping to, do a little bit more play.
Yep.
Because it's a little bit easier. A lot of us are taking some time off in the summer, so we'll have a little bit of maybe more time and energy to play. And so that's why we wanted to have you on right now as we are kicking that off.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Just go pause, connect, and play more.
That's a great message.
We'll do it. Thank you so much, Christy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Let's move on to loving this week.
Yes.
Maren, what are you loving this week?
All right. Well, I'm loving a podcast that you suggested I listen to.
Yep.
And I love your suggestions. So
well,
I knew I was probably going to love it.
I was home alone all weekend listening to podcasts. So I may have bombarded you with suggestions. I'm glad you liked one of them.
You did give me a few suggestions. But this one was so good. I listened to it all the way home.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I did. And it's called The Goop Podcast.
Yeah.
With Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yep.
She has the Goop beauty product line.
Okay. Yeah.
Or it's like
I thought it was a website.
No, it's skincare.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Am I right about that?
I think so.
Now I'm second guessing that.
I don't know.
Okay. I know it's a line of skincare, but maybe it's a website too.
Yeah, I feel like she started. Gosh, we should probably know this, but
I like processing this.
It's okay.
We'll
process it. I feel like years ago it started with like a newsletter where she had like some recipes and like you could sign up for the Goop newsletter. I don't know. That might have been like 10 years ago. I'm not sure.
I don't know anything about that.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's a big part of this. I don't know, but I know it's yeah. So the Goop podcast, I love it. Her first episode was with Oprah. So she got a big one right away. Good job, Gwyneth.
It was amazing.
It was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say everything Oprah says is amazing, but I just loved this. And I mean, sometimes I'm like, but this interview was so good.
It was
so good. And Gwyneth, I love, she kind of opened up about some things too. Just, they talked about a lot of things.
Yeah. It was a conversation.
It was a conversation, which I love that. And the other ones I listened to were about, one is called Resetting Hormones, Weight, and the Conversation Around Women's Health.
Oh, I didn't listen to that one.
Yeah, and I listened to that out of curiosity to see, like, where is she coming from, or what's her slant on this?
Yeah.
And I thought it was so good. I was really on board with what they were talking about.
Okay.
And it was very healthy. It was a healthy conversation about health.
Yeah.
It was, I think, holistic and very empowering to women. And so I felt good about myself. I just felt very good about myself afterwards.
Good.
Yeah. So that's how I felt, how I have felt listening to this podcast. So
yeah. I listened to the one called "It's Normal to Occasionally Hate Your Spouse."
Oh, yes, that's on my list.
That title, I was like, okay, play.
Okay, play. Interested.
That was really good. It was a therapist was talking about therapy, which I like to listen to talks about therapy. So, I listened to the one about healing your autoimmune disease through changing your diet.
Yes, I listened to that one too.
That was really good.
Yep, it was all so confirming because, I feel like, you and I are kind of both like on this health journey right now.
Yep.
Changing the way we're eating. Again, I mean, I think it's been a long time for me.
It's a journey.
It's a journey, yeah. And so I'm still on it. And sometimes I'm like, is this really working? And because it's not everybody is talking about it, it's not necessarily mainstream what we're doing,
right?
I think,
right.
And so I questioned myself. So I loved hearing them just say, this is all very good.
Yeah,
it's all very, very good.
Yep,
I loved it.
Yeah, that's a good one. So yeah, I probably have listened to half the episodes, and I'm going to listen to more.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's a good
definitely
one.
All right, Angela, what are you loving this week?
Well, I'm loving something that I got on Amazon. It is called it's a handheld vacuum.
Okay.
This is like, well, we got a dog. So there's dog hair everywhere. Like everywhere. Yeah. And, my husband doesn't want the dog on the couch, but the kids let the dog on the couch.
Yeah.
And I don't know if our dog just sheds more than other dogs, but we have one of those like tape roller things.
Yes.
That we try and have the kids roll and it doesn't get it all.
No.
It does not get all the hair off the couch. And Jeremy was like, I do not even want to sit on the couch anymore. It's just nasty. You cannot, we can't have guests over and invite them to sit on our couch because it's all full of dog hair.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I wonder if they had like a really powerful handheld vacuum, kind of like a dustbuster, but like really powerful.
That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So I just thought, I'm just going to look on Amazon, and lo and behold, they have one from Dyson, a handheld vacuum.
Oh,
I know.
Love Dyson.
Got lots of stars, and
it's
not corded, so it uses battery. So you have to plug it in always, and then it lasts for like 12 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so you just go to town on your couch, but it gets it so clean. It digs up all the stuff. It does
for 12 minutes.
Well, okay. I realized there's like a max section. And then and then not max or whatever.
So it might last longer.
It lasts longer if you don't use the max, but I like the max. So, anyway, but I'm using it. I used it on our couch upstairs. I use it on our couch downstairs. Take out the cushions. There's crumbs and all the junk.
Goodness.
You can use it in your car and all your crumbs. You can use it under the garbage in the sink. There's lots of uses.
There's so many.
I know.
Yeah, I'm thinking of several places right now.
You can just go around the corner of your kitchen floor where all the crumbs go,
all
just
the
for a
crevices.
quick little. It's really, I love it.
You know where I could use it? I was just thinking
where?
In my cupboard, in my cabinets, like in the drawers.
Oh yeah.
How does that happen? How does that happen?
Especially like in the silverware drawer. How do crumbs get in there?
How do crumbs get in there?
I don't know.
It's a conundrum. I want to put like a video camera out. And just... Would we ever catch the crumbs? I don't know. Like, how does this happen?
Yeah. So it's a little spendy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, is this worth it? But I was like, I need to like preserve Jeremy's sanity.
Yes. Then it is worth it.
And then I was like, and then after we got it, I thought, this is completely worth it. This is amazing. There's no bag. It's just like a Dyson. You flip the thing and the dust falls out. And yeah, it's great.
That is so great.
I love it. So
okay.
Yeah. So
right.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you would like to follow us, we're on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Homeschool Unrefined. Mm-hmm. We also have a website, homeschoolunrefined.com. You can go there to find links to everything that we talked about. And we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Homeschool Unrefined was created by Maren Gorse and Angela Sizer. Thanks to Gambler's Daughter for providing the music for our show. You can find Gambler's Daughter at facebook.com/gamblersdaugghtermusic.